Next game, we're talking about an upset that we had in the ACC. Pittsburgh beating number 16 Georgia Tech 42-28. Georgia Tech, all they had to do was win this game, and they were in the ACC title game. They're not out of it just yet, but Georgia Tech needs a lot of help now to make it to the ACC championship game. Let's go over the highest graded players, starting off with the Pittsburgh Panthers. Highest graded player for Pitt was, of course, their true freshman running back, Jakirian Turner, 82 grade. We'll talk about him later on in the show. Wide receiver Kenny Johnson, 74.6. Linebacker Braylon Lovelace with a huge pick six in this game, 73.4. Edge rusher Isaiah Neal, 73.3. Defensive tackle Nick James, 71.8. And Mason Heinschel, another true freshman, with a really good 76.8 grade. Let's go over to Georgia Tech with their highest graded players in the loss. Wide receiver Malik Rutherford, 74.5. Safety Omar Daniels, 73.1. Defensive tackle Jordan Vandenberg, 71.1. Isaiah Canyon, the wide receiver, 70. Defensive tackle Matthew Alexander, 68.1. And Haynes King with a 68.4 grade in the loss. Dalton, what told the story in this Pitt victory?
I think the funniest part about the way this game went is that you and I both picked Georgia Tech, and a big reason was Pittsburgh's propensity for turnovers, right, for giveaways.
Yep.
And Georgia Tech, their ability coming into this game, they'd only turned the ball over 10 times the entire year, and 5 of those were in their first 2 games of the season. We figured, okay, Georgia Tech's ball security would be the difference in a win for them, and it ended up being the other way around. This was only the second game of the entire season where Pittsburgh did not give the ball away. The only other game was a 48-7 win over Boston College, the worst team in the ACC. Georgia Tech, 2 interceptions, one from Haynes King in the first quarter, led to a Pitt touchdown. The pick six, like you mentioned, I think at the end of the day, yes, there's the hot start, but Georgia Tech had momentum in the second half. Yep. It was 28-14. They were driving down. They're inside the Pitt 10, and the Braylon Lovelace pick six, probably the worst throw of Haynes King's season. That moment felt like that's when the game ended, right there. Because all of a sudden it went from, this could be a 7-point game in one play to now it's 35-14, and it's just over. There was also a turnover on downs early in the game at Pitt's 45 that led to a Pitt touchdown. I think that's just what this game comes down to me. 2 interceptions, 3 total 4th down stops for Pittsburgh on defense. You end up with 5 total turnovers there. That's the difference in the game to me. Pitt was safe with the football, and they rarely are. And we know Mason Heinschel is a gunslinger, but they did not have any turnovers in this game. Georgia Tech did. They were not secure with the football. The pick six from Lovelace really put things away from there. And even then, there was a moment where Georgia Tech had a little bit of air. There's a fake punt that I was not a huge fan of at all. I don't really understand that one, but I'll let it go. You came away with the win anyway. But no, that to me, when I look at this game throughout it's turnovers. And again, in the preview, we thought, hey, most likely this would be the other way, but this is why turnovers are kind of the most random thing in the game of football, because they can swing right back the other way and hit that regression to the mean at any time.
That fake punt call by Pat Narduzzi was one of the craziest.
We're sitting in the Cincinnati press box watching Cincy BYU with this on off to the side, and it just stressed me out.
Yeah.
You're up 14. It's 4th and 9. This is just not necessary.
Yeah.
I love that stressed me out.
All
big
the
time.
other beat writers in that press box, like, we were all like, "What are you doing?" Like, yelling it out, and they were like, it was like during a commercial break, and BYU Cincy like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, sorry."
I was like, not a big fan of the fake punt, but you get away with it.
Yeah.
A win is a win in the Ben Lindsay Bowl, that's for sure.
So you are right that Georgia Tech did mount a little bit of a comeback in this game, but they had to because of how dominant Pitt was in the first 5 drives in this one. So my stat to tell a story in this game is the first 5 drives for both teams in this one. Pitt built a 28-0 lead over Georgia Tech early on in the second quarter of this game, and the Yellow Jackets were playing catch-up from there. 4 straight touchdown drives for Pitt in this one. Pitt's first 5 drives of the game, 245 yards, 8.8 yards per play, 14 first downs, 28 points. Georgia Tech's first 5 drives of the game, 21 total yards, 1.2 yards per play, 1 first down, and 0 points. Pitt was absolutely dominant in the first 5 drives of this game, and Georgia Tech needed to mount like a Texas A&M over South Carolina type of comeback, monumental comeback to even have a chance at winning this game, and they could not do it. The defense could not get stopped in this one, which has been a theme for Georgia Tech really all year. And Haynes King and the offense simply took too long to get going in this game as well. So Pitt, again, a 28-0 lead early on in the second quarter. That, to me, told the story in this game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And for as long as we've been doing this show together, anytime we do a Georgia Tech game, we go, what's the difference? A lot of times, you got out ahead of them.
Yep.
You got out ahead of them because they can't just get in the run game. They got to get an obvious pass, and that's not where they want to live. And I'll say this again. It's not that Haynes King hasn't thrown the ball really well this year. It is just not Georgia Tech's comfort zone. It's not what they wanted. They want to get ahead. They want to milk the clock. They want to put those tight ends on the field and get 5 yards at a time on the ground and really just choke you out. Pitt didn't allow them to do that. You can't get into that kind of game with a 28-0 deficit there. So, credit to Pittsburgh. You're right. Getting off to the hot start. As often teams do, when Georgia Tech does get beat, it is often for that reason, that they're playing from behind, and they don't want to be doing that because the foundation, the heart and soul of their team is still the run game. But their defense, once again, as was the case against NC State, they could not get stops when they needed them. Even when they had one more gasp of air, when it was 35-28, they just could not get the stop that they needed.
You and I both want to shout out a couple true freshmen in Pitt's backfield in this one. You want to shout out the quarterback, Mason Heinschel.
Boy, Pitt's future looks pretty bright there, doesn't it? And, when we had heard that Desmond Reed was officially out for this game, we went, that's going to be a problem. But I'll tell you what, the young guy stepped up. I got to give credit to the quarterback, Mason Heinschel, coming off, obviously, his worst game of the year against Notre Dame. It was just awful. They got whacked, and obviously Pat Narduzzi wasn't worried about it. But I was kind of worried about how Heinschel would respond coming off of that game and now going into your actual biggest game of the year against Georgia Tech that can keep you alive in the ACC race. He was really good. He gutted it out. 69.5 passing grade. That goes up a handful of points because he had one fumble that Pitt managed to recover. But 20-28, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 78 passing grade in a clean pocket. When he is clean, he's really good. He wants to hold the football, right? And he was under pressure 50% of the time in this game. But the biggest thing is that this was his highest graded game of the season, and he did not turn the football over. Again, second time this year for this Pitt team, second time this year for Heinschel. In the biggest moment, he played clean football, and that was the difference in this game.
Yeah, mine is Chadwick Turner, the true freshman running back for Pitt in this one. Stepped up for Desmond Reed, like Dalton said, who was out with an injury, and he was absolutely incredible against this Georgia Tech defense. An 88.6 rushing grade, 200 rushing yards with a touchdown, 121 yards after contact, a 40% forced missed tackle rate for Chadwick Turner with 10 yards per carry and 7 explosive runs against Georgia Tech as well. Also had 12 receiving yards in this one. This guy, Dalton, and you're not a big fan of recruiting rankings, this guy was not even a top 1,500 recruit out of high school. He is a diamond in the rough for Pitt right now. And yes, they have a star running back in Desmond Reed, who will be the star of this offense when he gets back from his injury. But they got a guy in Chadwick Turner who has made plays really all year for Pitt in their backfield, and he is a rising star in college football.
No, absolutely. I mean, you get two young guys like this that step up, again, on the biggest stage in the biggest game of their season, and they're going to have to do it again next week. You got a real tough Miami team that's ranked in, the top 12? They're number 12 right now, I think it is, or number 11?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the stage is only going to get bigger, and that defense is a whole different animal than this Georgia Tech one. But if these two young guys keep stepping up for Pitt, man, you got to feel like they have a chance, especially going back home and getting an opportunity. And then we're going to go over the scenarios later, but Pitt is in the ACC title race.
Oh, they are.
Which puts you in the playoff race. You beat Miami. If they're not ranked this week, they're going to get ranked next week if and when they beat Miami, and then going into the ACC title game if they get there. So there's a big opportunity in front of Pittsburgh, but this was step one on the way to ACC contention.
Yep, Pitt staying alive in ACC contention, while Georgia Tech, like I said before, all they had to do was win this game to get into the ACC title game. Now they need help because they play an out-of-conference team next week against Georgia. Georgia Tech needs a lot of help in order to get to Charlotte for the ACC championship game.